So today we're looking at patch notes for update 21, August 4th. We have Fortifying Atlas, kind of have a colossal problem, and we have the return of Meat Week. Quickly looking at these highlights, Fortifying Atlas, we're going to be looking at this event where it's very dependent on us donating supplies, and I'll get into that soon. Colossal Problem, I'm saying it's kind of here because it's implemented into the game, but they can't make it live yet. There's some issues that they still need to tweak. Whatever, I'm for that. We'll talk about that soon. And that is found at Mononga Mine. And then the return of Meat Week, where I've already heard some people complaining, and I can kind of share some of those complaints and know where they're coming from. Before I even get into any of those, let's go over Fortifying Atlas. So some of you have already been depositing stuff. I've already been picking up some feedback from you guys, what you've been getting, opening up the little crates that you're getting. And this is a two-part community-wide effort. Again, very heavily dependent on us depositing these things. This is for the Brotherhood of Steel. And if whatever goals that they're setting out and, these community goals are successfully met and we're turning in enough supplies, we're going to unlock things like events, new cosmetic rewards, and some of those game rewards are, let's say, the Brotherhood of Steel themed cosmetics, a Purveyor Super Sale that I need. I'll get back to that in a second. A double score daily event, right? So double score daily event is going to be very useful for anybody because that's going to mean you don't have to buy ranks towards the end of the season if somebody's like really behind, let's say. And then they say and more, right? So let's see what the and more actually is, and we'll have to see if it's worth it. They do talk about the Atlas donors provisions. I'm calling them, the things that people are opening up, very similar to presents, the mole miner pails. Before I even go into that, let me rewind and talk about the Purveyor Super Sale. So recently on stream, I've been testing out some new metas and different builds and how I can approach endgame with my different characters in various ways and test out builds that I've never tried before. I'm quite literally putting on pieces of armor and trying out weapons that I would be automatically scrapping or scripping and calling them useless. And I feel like I'm biting my tongue more than ever. But in order for me to get the most out of this, if there is a potential for a Purveyor Super Sale, I will not be rolling any script until that date. I have to double check. I did see the kind of rewards that we can unlock. I don't have that off the top of my head. I'll see if I can also put that for people to check out later on, but that super sale is very important to me. And then as I was starting to mention with the presents, the mole miner pails, some people are saying that they've already opened up, like a dozen or so and not received much. I don't know what the drop rates of anything good is going to be from that yet. I'll have to see if there's any data mined information on that. But it says that we have a chance to receive goodies and chance at rare plans. So I honestly don't know if this is a copy and paste from the last events, let's say the presents and the mole miner pails. The issue with this event, and this is a very copy and paste approach and kind of the way I'm looking at it, is with presents, that was unique. That was the first time we saw something like that. And then with the mole miner pails, when we saw that, unfortunately, it wasn't something new, even though it was newer items being introduced. They basically updated the presents, and then anybody that had presents and still has them, if you open them up now, you can still get some of the things that you got from that event. So it's like basically copy and paste and just add a couple new things. So I kind of like that because then if anybody missed some of those previous rare plans, maybe you have another chance throughout some other event throughout the year. Let's say if we do things seasonally, let's say, 4 different events a year, all having similar rewards. I think that'd be pretty nice, especially for like new people joining the game. So I'm not going to complain too much about seeing the same stuff. I just don't want it to feel like lackluster. I want it to be kind of exciting and worth it. And fortunately, what we've seen more recently with dupers and items flooding the market, it's almost like we need new items that are rare as opposed to rare items that are common because people are selling them, a dozen at a clip for 100 caps or less. But enough about this. I will be partaking in this. This is the alpha stage that just started. That's going to be going for a few weeks, and then Bravo is going to start August 27th, so keep an eye on that. And then the article on this is found within the patch notes, so definitely check that out. Colossal Problem I was talking about, it's kind of here. Well, Colossal Problem will be in a couple of weeks. I'm okay with them tweaking whatever they have to and it not going live so it can run smoothly. I appreciate that approach to the game. Hopefully that's going to make sure that there's less crashes, more of enjoyable of an experience, but we'll keep an eye on that as well. And they're talking about how you can meet Maggie Williams in Foundation to start this. And then that'll be the side quest, Something Sentimental. So this honestly makes me think of the Sheep Squatch, lying low, quest line, all those different things. Which makes me think as soon as you've completed it, you should be able to spawn it whenever, maybe. Um, and then they talk about how, unfortunately, the entrance to Monongah Mine has become blocked. You will have to blast your way inside by dropping a nuke. I am all about this. I am all about making, let's say, nukes more, I don't know, fill them with utility. So it's not just, okay, I'm nuking White Springs, I'm nuking a couple other spots around the map that people like to nuke, which have similar results, right? You either want mobs, you want XP, you want maybe legendaries, which all are under one kind of category of why you would nuke something. And then the other category is I want to spawn an event. Um, until now, or actually, I mean, you could spawn the Colossus at the random event locations, and they have recently tweaked that in patch 20, I think it was the spawn rates, or it was patch 19, I think it was 20. But you were just nuking basically around the Scorch Beast Queen. Then they introduced the Wendigo Colossus. Still kind of random event though, but now being able to guarantee it, I would say this is like, I don't know. If one is for XP, mobs, and kind of like legendary grinding, this one is the boss nuke, I guess. Dropping a nuke to spawn something, which makes me think towards the future. If we drop nukes to spawn a Scorch Beast Queen or a Wendigo Colossus, what will the next thing be? Will we get the Ogre Behemoth or something like that? Can we get like some gigantic, I don't even know, some bigger Deathclaw if possible? These are things that I know it's very like loose interpretations of what the next boss fight could be, but still kind of food for thought and things to consider. And especially if anybody's active on, let's say, their forums or Reddit or places where they check out that info, you never know. You plant the seed, we might see that later on. My issue, though, and I'm kind of praising it because, yay, we can drop nukes to destroy a, entrance, whatever. One thing that I'm seeing that could be an issue says, if one instance of a colossal problem fills up, a new one will begin so that more players can start the event. They actually don't talk about a cap. I don't know why it would say if it fills up, a new one will begin. Does that mean you can only? I actually haven't kept up with the PC and like the PTS, like and how that was going. Um, I understand it went from private to public, and now people have ran that event, so I have to look more into it. But just kind of on the surface, it makes me think: is that 8 people? Is it 12 people? Can the whole server go in? I'm just kind of speculating what I'm reading. I don't actually know yet. They're also saying, similar to Project Paradise, it says it's tuned for characters who are level 50 or higher, and it's just a recommendation. Anybody that jumps straight out the vault, if they see that event start, they can spawn at it, I'm sure. Um, Even times that people come through and join us on these events, they learn real quick why it's suggested for higher levels. But so that's one part of that. And then it says if you topple the Colossus before the event timer expires, you'll be rewarded. You're getting loot, XP, caps, treasury notes, and a chance here, guys, at new themed items for your camp. So I think that's very similar to what we've seen already. Anything like the Scorch Beast Queen recently having things updated, like the drop table, the mounted heads, things like that. I could imagine it being similar. We might get a mounted Wendigo Colossus head. I'm pretty sure I've seen some of these things data mined, and I'll have to double check where those links are at. But that is a colossal problem that we should keep an eye out for the next couple weeks. Then we have Meat Week returning, and we have a couple weeks until it starts, guys. So get yourselves prepped because that'll be, let's say, a week long. That's going from August 18th to 24th. By now, even if people are newer to this game, I feel like they know of Meat Week. That was not the most recently ran one. Fashnot was ran recently. Fashnot has been 2 times in the making since this game's come out. Meat week. This was what? Is this the third meat week or the fourth meat week? Not sure. We definitely run through this one already a couple times. So that'll be soon. And then that consists of the primal cuts portion of it and the cook-off portion of it. Um, I would say if you're not familiar, let's say every 15 minutes primal cuts starts. There's a couple of spots that we were looking at going to last year, and then you'd kill something really quickly and try to go to another spot and see if you can get even more. I'm gonna be hunting legendaries. That whole primal cut portion of it, I wasn't too crazy about last year, even though I was still doing them. We had a lot of fun doing them, with the community. So we're definitely gonna try that again this year. Um, and then you turn that in at the meat cook-off. For anybody that doesn't know, that's how you can get script. Also boost the progression in that. And then the things that's actually keeping me interested in Meat Week, because I originally was like, watch it be a copy and paste of last year. They do say we've also added a few new rewards this year, like plans to craft your own tenderizer, which is the biggest thing for me. I have multiple tenderizers on other like mule characters that it is way too heavy. Those things are what, like 20 plus pounds each. So now what I'm gonna do is either sell those, scrap those, or just drop them. Because if I have the ability to make them, and if I have like the pepper tenderizer or whatever other tenderizer mods, I'll be fine. I'll have to get rid of that. I'll cut some weight. I'm very excited about that. They talk about a new outfit. No idea what that could be. It's a bloodier chef's outfit. I have no idea. And then it says and more. So we'll keep an eye out if closer to that they mention anything new. I don't know if anything's been data mined for that. Moving on to design updates. I would say they're listening, guys. The ammo converter is the first thing they have listed here, and there's a lot of complaints. And then right after a lot of complaints came out, they basically said, "We hear you. We're gonna address this in a future update. Thank you for your suggestions on this. Now you can buy and sell 10 times and 100 times the normal amounts of ammo, so you can go through that really easily, a lot more quickly." And actually, guys, for design updates, a few of you already might know this, but the legendary loot kind of pool for daily quests and events has been overhauled. The legendary loot's reward update includes items like the fixers, secret service armor, and others. They're saying the others, I'm assuming, are going to be the bear arm, the sheep squatch related things, plans that you learned in the past via those, let's say, events. Um, so as long as you have those plans learned, you can actually start rolling this, which is great. Because now we can have a shot at getting Secret Service armor, which is, to me, big news. Random fixers. So that's going to, let's say, drop the value of fixers, I would assume, if they're going to drop more often in these kind of scenarios. Let's see. Good luck to anybody. There was some updates for quests and events. An ounce of prevention and signal strength got a couple of updates there. There's a good amount of bug fixes. So actually going into bug fixes, um, and I like that they mention this right off the bat. They talk about the forager ally, pull my finger kid kind of deal. Um, there's going to be a fix soon, right? They weren't able to implement that this time, but at least they're telling us, hey, we know something's not working. He's not giving quests. We'll work on that as soon as we can. Going down to art and animation, I didn't notice anything really crazy. I would say there's various fixes, which is good. Nothing really stands out. You can definitely check out the notes for yourselves as I kind of skim through some of these that are less impactful. Camp and workshops got a good amount of stuff. Um, Small things, a couple of bugs that people might have run into between the ammo converter, the bungalow, chicken coop, things with audio, things like that were addressed. There's a couple exploits. I love reading these because half the time I just find out about shit as I read them. Addressed an exploit allowing players to stack multiple traps. I thought they actually fixed this not too long ago, but that's good. Um, the issue is trap base. Not all trap bases are bad, right? So some trap bases actually reward you if you make it to the cheese at the center of the maze. You might have to die a few times trying. So we might have to get a little more creative with trap bases. Another exploit, fix an exploit related to scrapping Assaultron helmets. Helmets or heads? I believe there was some sort of exploit related to resources with that. I don't fully recall what I've read. Something to, I think, screws or some shit. I think it was like an infinite way to get resources. It really took them that long to patch this. In any case, that's fixed. So now, stabilizing infinite resources, right? One of the biggest ones that really confuses me, and it's an update, but it still has its slight flaw, if I can speculate. Scrapping. It says fix an issue that caused crafting to use junk items from a player's inventory and stash before using their available scrap. Crafting, building, and repairing now utilize the player's scrap and junk in the following order of priority. So they mentioned the first one. Any scrap in the player's inventory is going to go first. Any scrap in the player's stash will go second. And then any scrap in the scrap box from Fallout first will go third. I personally have an issue with that before I go any further. I personally believe if you have anything in your stash and you are a Fallout First owner, right? If you own and subscribe to Fallout First and you put it in your stash for some reason, even if it's like, hey, I'm hanging on to a collection of waste acid or something like that, for whatever reason. Let's just say I wanted to have it separate. I don't know. Let's just say I borrowed it from a friend. I'm just throwing random scenarios there. Why would I go through that stash that was intentionally put aside first, as opposed to my scrap box that has infinite carry weight for all those resources, and that's where I would assume anybody would want their stuff to come from first. That's my biggest complaint so far, just reading that. The other ones work totally fine. After that, it's junk in the player's inventory, and then junk in the player's stash will be auto-scrapped. And that's junk. That's not scrap. It's just straight saying junk is like the last thing that it'll go through. It'll go through your scrap first. I might be looking maybe a little too far into this. I just don't understand the logic of why you would prioritize the Fallout first, scrap box second. But that's that. Then we have walls. Walls got multiple updates, and these were targeted at fixing snapping issues, which is good. But at the same time, anybody that's noticed those recent floating bases that have become a little more popular, floating bases should not be a thing anymore. So rip to anybody that was still trying to make any of those and didn't finish them in time. Going down to combat, we got some more exploit fixes. Yay, exploit fixes. We love this, right? Fix an exploit resulting from reviving another player under certain circumstances. I have no idea what that means. Fix an exploit resulting from reviving another player. I have no idea. Is that like another alternate god mode we don't know about? Is that something like when you revive somebody and it doesn't actually revive them at like I don't know, encrypted, right? How many times do we get revived at encrypted and we still like die or some weirdness happens? The other exploit says fix an exploit allowing bows to fire much faster than intended. I actually have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm a bow user. I don't know if there's an exploit where you have to use a firework mine or some shit. I don't. I'm just referencing that recent firework mine uncovering, right? Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, so those are the two exploits that they fixed. I'm curious to know if my bow will fire slower now, if it's a passive thing that was happening, or it says exploit. So I feel like somebody's doing something to just auto fire bow shots, but I'll keep an eye on that. Going on to items, there's a few that I kind of want to mention. It did cover a few things, and like I mentioned before, anything that I'm skipping over will be available for you guys to check out in their patch notes. There's energy weapons that I want to talk about. Address an issue that could prevent energy weapons like the Tesla rifle and flamer from damaging enemies under certain circumstances. So I know that I recently tested out a flamer in front of West Tech, and even though I was at point blank range, I was getting a bunch of ghost damage. I have not noticed any issues with my Tesla rifle. I've never noticed any, I don't know, any ghost damage or it just not doing things. Like I'm able to tag stuff, people kill it. I do enough damage to get past the threshold of getting credit, XP, and drops and stuff like that. So I can keep an eye on that. Lunchboxes. Using more than 4 lunchboxes now correctly refreshes the duration of the 100% XP buff. So that's good. I don't know what it was doing before, but now that you can reset, your timer, that's much better. Secret Service armor. So anybody that's currently using Secret Service armor, this is definitely good for you. Added plans to craft pocketed and deep pocketed mods for Secret Service armor, for the limbs actually. They can be purchased for 250 and 500 gold bullion, respectively, from regs in Vault 79. So that's good. It's like you learn it once and then you can apply it as you need to. And I like this because these past couple of patches now, they're actually adding more to the list of things that you can get. So what else do we have here? Pretty much it for items. There's a few other things that they mentioned as well. Mutations. So this will actually impact a couple of my characters. Herbivore and carnivore. They fixed the number of food benefits that were not being doubled correctly by the herbivore and carnivore mutations. For NPCs, it says fixed a rare case where NPCs could pick up items a player had dropped in a loot bag. So we recently had the scare when Wastelanders came out that if you died near an NPC, they would take your stuff. I mean, like we've seen multiple videos kind of passed around of like scares of people losing their stuff, seeing posts online of, oh, I went to do this event like Rad Rumble and somebody. So this is strange because it's not saying that you die and lose your stuff. This is saying that if you drop something in a loot bag. So does that mean if I dropped my weapon for somebody to pick up and an NPC was like, yoink, thanks for that, and then kept walking, I guess it would just be absorbed into the black hole that is the game? I don't know. But that's good that they fixed that before we had any issues. Pathing. And pathing, we already know there's a lot of NPCs and allies that run into this issue, but it says fix pathing issues affecting multiple NPCs in Foundation. Um, so speaking of Foundation, and I love the way they wrote this, they're talking about Ward. It says, we've instructed Ward, I love that, we've instructed him to stay put in his trailer, so you should no longer spot him roaming Foundation. I love that they put that because it's almost like a little inside joke between anybody in the community that's seen him doing random stuff walking around Foundation. But like these are also the things that we love to see. Like we want to see Ward standing on a roof of a building randomly. We want to see him backwards in a chair. We want to see him outside, upside down, through a wall. Like those things make for some good laughs, but they did fix that, or they tried to. Let's see. They've instructed him. That doesn't mean that they can force him to, right? We've instructed him. That's like we requested that you stay put, and he's like, uh-huh. But I don't need to. Like we're suggesting you do. So let's see. There's no there's no holding down Word. Performance and stability. I love always seeing these, even if they're copy and paste. I do not care. Client stability, service stability, performance issues have been fixed for various things, including workshops, pathing, inventory things, nuclear winter crashes, client crashes, and other things here. This is good. This is all good shit. This was things you want to see every patch note. Perks. So I'd never noticed this, but apparently now Adrenaline now applies this damage correctly, like the bonuses after the kills. I don't know if some weirdness. I have no idea. Quest and event. So also robotics expert got fixed. It says no longer prevents players from trading with vendor bots. I never knew that was a thing, but that's kind of broken. If you have a perk on, you don't know that it's affecting your ability to trade a robot, or at least a vendor. There's quest and event fixes. There's a few fixes here. There's a couple I would like to mention. I didn't know this was a thing. Maybe you guys did. For Heart of the Enemy, the daily can no longer be repeated immediately after completion. I don't think we've ever ran into that where we completed it and then had the ability to do it right after. And then vital equipment, which this one I know has kind of affected a few of us. Fixed an issue that could prevent vital equipment from progressing if the player killed a raider thief before talking to Ward. Unfortunately, it doesn't even mean if the player. How many times have you seen someone else's raider thief and then killed them? Unfortunately, that could have been screwing other people over. Normally, it takes like a little bit of time for the item to just randomly pop up on the ground anyway for the person to pick it up. So we've personally run into that. And as we start to wrap this up, we have UI, right? Got multiple fixes. Anything from loading screens to main menu issues, map and notification issues, a couple Pip-Boy social fixes. Um, Legendary Run, selecting rank 100 on the game board now correctly displays preview images for all the words in the Legendary Run bundle. Gotcha. Yeah, there's a couple of those things if you guys want to check that out. And last but not least, the world received some fixes as well. Two of the ones that I want to mention, nuke silos, fixed a location in the reactor room where players could get out of the world and skip portions of the nuke silo. So anybody teleporting through walls, ceilings, floors, wherever you could, that will no longer be a thing. Pathing, fixed multiple locations in the world where players could become stuck in or near clutter and other objects. I feel like we run into this in the past, getting stuck on random stuff. Normally it's not too bad. Most of the time you can fast travel, but that's good that they're fixing that. And they do actually need to go back and fix the ally pathing. They did mention NPCs and Foundation being fixed for that, but what we've recently seen on stream with a certain camp's ally running like he's the Flash. Looks like he's, computing 100 things at once and just flying around. There's clearly more issues with pathing. It's like the NPC is stuck, and it's just like trying to figure out one of a million ways that it could go, and then it just randomly teleports. So we'll keep an eye if that's addressed next time. But yeah, that's patch 21.